Okay, I'm outside of these. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be a screenwriter too. That's when I told the story about Dick Ebersol's letter from NBC and me being 13 years old and writing a script for Chips and sending it in. I had that envelope for 20 years. I think he got destroyed when Joe put it in the that little shed out back because it just got damaged by the sun and stuff like that. But I used that for years for inspiration. And then when I was when we were in Charlotte, that was one of the reasons why he moved me back from Charlotte, right? Because I'd gone to a songwriters conference and I'd given my demo tape to a guy named Harvey Cooper, and he was telling me that I had a future as an artist, right? Because I just needed to get together 4 more songs, and sure enough, it's like, oh, we're moving back to Florida to be with my evil sister. Okay, all right. I'm on strike. Okay, see these shoes? They're kind of worn now because I've been wearing them, but I have this thing with my toes. When Derek and I first met, he looked under the table at the Starbucks and he goes, my mom says there's so much you can tell about a woman by her toes, right? Okay, so he's obviously got a foot fetish, right? So when he's in jail, I'm sending him pictures of my feet, right? And so, all of the inmates there are like, well, they're writing songs and everything, right? So I got this nickname, right? Pretty Toes. And so when everything's blowing around, I'm here at the rest stop trying to finish the song, and they're writing songs. They're writing songs about pretty toes, right? And so when I was in jail the first time, that was when I was being held there for FTA, right? They held me there for 28 days, and Judge Adams denied me my right to a public defender, right? I'd gone down to the headquarters to give them my smoking gun evidence about Anastasia Tollard being associated with my ex-husband, and the Google downloads of the revenge porn, right, that they were going to threaten to, Sia Jane. I can see through these fake names now. Anastasia Beaverhausen. Okay, Sia Jane, Ramon Gumby, Johnson Phineas Smiles. What was the other one? I can't remember now. Again, sidetracked. So I can see through all these names, but I'm writing this song, right? Because when I was a kid, I wanted to be a musician, right? And I had been exposed to all these folk singers like Bob Dylan and everything like that during the civil rights movement and shortly after, right? Who were singing protest songs. And so Joan Baez was another one. And when I taught myself how to play the guitar, right, in my room, I'm doing all these songs from protest movements. And so I take this test, this career test, when I'm in the 8th grade, and it says, I would be a good musician, but I like to influence people with my opinions, and so therefore that wouldn't be a good job for me. And I'm like, what? Okay. But what I realized was when I was doing this protest at the post office, it had to do with my voice, right? That was what was threatening them, because something about my mother's voice, and that's another song. That's another song from my musical 1-900 Old Ladies. My mother's voice, because I have my mother's voice. When she was a young woman in Korea, she had the nickname Bongja, right? And so all of her friends would ask her to sing. But what I found was that was the story of my life, and that was the first song that I wrote when Derek dumped me off at the Guitar Center, and he said, Miss Joyce, who had passed away, by the way, the music teacher, says you need to go in and write a song. Miss Joyce and your mom says you need to go in and write a song. And so I wrote the song Legacy. It had to do with people trying to shut me up my whole life, right? But then, so I will sing, can't shut me up, Heavenly Father, fill my cup. And I realized that there was something about my voice that incited people to change if they were ready to hear the message. But the evil people wanted to take me down. That's why they wanted to shut me up, like my brother, you're singing in my window at 6 o'clock in the morning, blah, 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 you know. Okay. What was it? Oh, yeah, being in the smoking area at the Hertz Arena, you know, and Valina Greasy coming over there and screaming over me, and Debbie Spoon, and, you know, and then, and, you know, basically, you know, my brother was like threatening to kill me if I didn't shut up. And I realized there was a power in it. Those who were ready to hear the message will hear the message, and those who didn't would just, you know, right now they're scooting. Okay, I'm at the rest stop, you know, they're all going, this is time to go to work and stuff like that. But that was what it was my voice, right? And so I realized that there's more power in a song, right? Because, you know, if I do these recordings, I'm here for, you know, an hour blabbing my mouth about evidence and all that other stuff, and nobody listens, right? Because it's on YouTube and they can't stream it from a place like this. And so how do you get the message out? You get the message out with music, and that's all part of that healing thing, right? Healing with music, taking the pain and transforming it into something beautiful, like my song Metamorphosis on my CDs that never got sold. Metamorphosis from 2001. I had like 4 boxes when my storage unit was auctioned off, like 500 CDs still left unsold. It's about transforming the pain into something, and that's why protest songs are so powerful, right? And so when you're sitting there in front of the post office and you're protesting Louis DeJoy literally driving the post office into the ground, right? You know, there's leaks in the ceiling, and, you know, their lights are so dark, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on, you know. I'm cramping their style. And so there's power in music to heal those who are ready to hear the message, but it drives the other people away, right? They can't stand your light. And I'm listening to this story about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think she got blue eyes. I don't know. My sister-in-law Jean does. Okay. Trying to write these songs, and so I'm trying to write these songs telling my story. Pretty toes. So I made these shoes, right? My husband's in prison, and he's being held in prison because of evil Sheriff Carmine Marceno and the corrupt judges who enable people like Anastasia Toller, who was a lying bitch, right? She was the one who made the fake 911 call. She was the fake 911 puta caller, right? Who had me locked up. Because I was waiting. I was hanging around in Fort Myers, homeless, sleeping behind a tree, spending $1,100 to that bitch at the kennel to keep my dog alive while I waited for my husband to have a court date. And Kyle is intimidated, right? Because I'm out in the courtyard with my can of whoop ass and my sign that says, "Remember the Cash Fiends case, ritual satanic murder, 10/6/2006," right? And then they're staging this whole thing upstairs, right? With Joe in the wheelchair, and he's, you know, they're like, and Mrs. Cruz and Mamie stand up and say, "There's a warrant out for his arrest now." You know, and then they pretend to take him back and detain him in a federal, you know, detention center. None of that was true. It was all illusion, and I knew that when I was talking to my husband on the phone, and you know, I knew people were listening in. That's how I was able to set all those traps, because I knew that the people were listening in on the phone call and reading my emails, were feeding that information right back to my ex and Miss Amy. And the only reason why Miss Amy was able to talk to me, again, Miss Amy was working for as a paralegal for a law firm that was representing Trump in criminal court, right? That was the only reason they were able there to talk to me, and it had to do with enabling these child sex traffickers and cartel mob bosses, like my ex, right? Those people are crooked. That's why, you know, when I went to the gateway office 3 times, the first time we went with baby mama when she was still alive, she wouldn't go in. She'd been child sex trafficked. She and I were gonna be psychic detectives and drive around and blow a hole wide open in child sex trafficking. And we ended up sending her away because Mrs. Peete and my ex-husband sent her in, but then they sent her away. And I don't think they realized, I don't think they expected that I would take Derek back and that we would get married. So in the end, she died, I suspect, of a fentanyl overdose. That's how they die, you know, when they're no longer useful to you. The day before we were married, on November 11th, 2022. He's still in prison. He's in prison now because when she made that call, when she was dumped off by the Masonic Candyman, right, driving my ex's SUV, she gets into the black Infinity, also my ex-husband's, that was a getaway car. And then she makes that fake call. Oh, she's gonna kill me. She backs away when she sees me taping her. 2 seconds later, Cohen shows up. And at the time, I didn't realize it was her because, you know, she, like my ex-husband, uses fake names and is master, you know, master of disguise. Anastasia Beaverhausen. I got something coming about Anastasia Beaverhausen. And so they send me to jail, right? But this time I got a felony charge of possession of a synthetic cannabinoid. That's a 3rd-degree felony, punishable by up to 5 years in prison. All right, and that's the thing, you know, when you're stuck in a rut. Life is all about karmic lessons. Even my 38-year marriage to my ex-husband, you know, I loved him, I did, and I loved the man, but I loved the man that I knew he could be. He just never was. But I learned from that, you know. So Joe, I don't know what's going to happen to you right now, today, but thanks for the karmic lesson, because I'm able to take all of this pain, even the stuff with my dad especially, right? As I learned to forgive him, I learned to accept my gifts as a psychic medium and let go. My mom, you know, my mom forgave him. My mom could forgive him. Certainly I could. And so I was sleeping behind a tree, behind the library. That was before I got arrested. There was a evil voodoo high priest at the bus station. Okay, he had one of these little braids, named Priest. Handed me a poison pizza, a Little Caesar's pizza made especially for me. Everybody around me, nobody would eat it. This is especially for you. I was so hungry, I took it. And I was sick, and I called him out on it, you know. And all the people, like the woman named Iris who was sleeping in the tent just feet from me, wouldn't say 2 words to me. She threw it away in the morning. Nobody took it. I knew. And so I couldn't stay at the Rosa Parks. And so I'm sleeping behind this tree. And there's a bum there. You know, there's a homeless guy with a huge shopping cart. Reminds me of my dad, you know, because I'm sleeping behind the tree. I'm like, well, if they're going to get a homeless person, they're going to get him. And he was kind of blocking my view. And so he didn't say anything to me. I didn't say anything to him. I just slept behind this tree, and every once in a while he'd come and piss on the other side of the tree. It reminded me of my dad. And I'm like, how can he not know I'm here? He must not care. And so, and Charlie too, you know, always marking off his territory. You know, go out and mark off 57 places. Okay. It was annoying, but it reminded me of my dad. I'm like, it reminded me of my dad, this guy in the shopping cart who wouldn't say 2 words to me. And I'd heard these messages that, you know, God was working. He was protecting me through my angels and spirit guides. And my dad was one of those. When I let him cross over and I forgave him, promised that he would pull on all these dark energies. I'm sitting there behind the tree. I got this new phone. I had given the number to just Miss Amy. All she had to do was call, and she never called. And I'd just been given a poison pizza the day before. I couldn't go back to Rosa Parks. My husband was in jail. I was waiting for his court date so that I could testify, and that was the 3rd time. The 3rd time was the charm. If Anastasia didn't show up, I was sure she was dead. they were going to let him go. They kept changing court dates. They'd move it up. It was sneaky. One time it was a hurricane. I guess I can't blame them. I can't blame them for that. And so I'm hanging out there. I'm trying to get my man out, right? Trying to get my dog out. By that time, my car had been towed away with the candy bar, and Donna had been holding on to him for a whole month. I didn't have that money. I just had my Social Security. They cleaned me out. And it was like, so I'm sleeping there, and I got, I think I got steroids at that time. It's hard for me to sleep. And so I'm in this tree, right, in the groove of this big old oak tree, hiding behind a guy, big homeless guy with a shopping cart blocking my way. And I feel so alone. And I say in my prayer to God, please, God, show me this time. Show me this time. I have a lot of faith, but sometimes I do need proof. Sometimes I need to be like Thomas, where I go up, And so 2:22 rolls around, and I'm sort of dozing off, but I wake up and I hear this ruckus sort of in the streets. Okay, there's two churches. There's City Gates and there's a Presbyterian church over here, and I see a whole bunch of homeless people screaming, and over in front of the guy with the shopping cart, because the guy with the shopping cart's screaming too, and Officer Beaton is there. Okay, and I'm like, oh crap, he's gonna arrest me, because by that time everybody, homeless people know, start running. We see him coming, right? I'm gonna, want to help you, I want to help the homeless people. He just wants to arrest you for trespassing. And so, they're arguing, they're screaming. 2:22 in the morning. That's when my mom always came to us. They start arguing about this guy named Priest. And it never occurred to me why his nickname was Priest. Because he was an evil voodoo high priest. He had given me a poison pizza. It gave me the shits. I mean, I immediately went in that, area behind the Fort Myers Police Department. It's right next door to the Rosa Parks. That's why they let you sleep there, right? So they can keep an eye on you. I got so sick, and I called him out on it. I couldn't go back. And so I'm there behind the tree, and I'm praying as I try to drift off to sleep. Please, God, show me your angels. And so I hear this ruckus, but I don't want to create, I don't want to draw any attention to myself, so I'm very careful not to use my phone. And he says, just reach out your phone and take a picture. So I reach out my phone and take a picture, but I can't really look at it. It looks really eerie, And I hear this going on. They're arguing about what they're going to do. They're going to take out this guy named Priest, right? And so, and I know that dude was Officer Beaton. So I got my phone, right? And then I get arrested again, okay, on Monday for crocheting 45 minutes before curfew ended. And then the next day, Officer Barreto, in dorm 1, smashes my face up against the concrete wall and tries to choke me to death in front of a dorm full of inmate witnesses, right? And then she lies through her teeth about everything. She lies about everything. The only thing that she told the truth about was that I was guilty of insolence because I had dumped one of my hair snakes off right on her computer. I was tired of seeing her verbally abused, and she's there with her big gut and all hopped up on energy drinks. And God said, everybody needs to see this one. Everybody needs to see. She smashes my face against the wall. She said she guided it. Okay. One of many lies she told in her report. And they send me off to the crazy pod. That's how I got there. They sent me off in a turtle suit, and then they put this green quilted thing on you, right? And you have to sleep on the floor, and you got to eat with a cardboard spoon, and then if you're not a danger to yourself or others, right? Then they sent me over to Pod O, and they sent me over to Pod O, and then this is where I saw Elizabeth eating her own, waste from the toilet, right? and I saw, and I heard Rebecca Lynn Carter's rants because she had been child sex trafficked while I'm eating my Christmas jailhouse slop 5 feet from a toilet that's backed up. And so by the time I got out, you know, the jail commander, the court commander, the medical director, they hid me out there, right? They didn't want me telling them their story. Even when I was in Judge Sweat's court the week after, I look like Petey the dog, okay? I look like Petey the dog. And Judge Sweat is this guy that kind of looks like Santa Claus, you know? And it was comical. And I could go on and on, but about what happened, but essentially they hid me out in Pod O. And, you know, Pod O was for the crazy people, but that they said, right? But it was for the people they didn't want to hear from. They were hiding there for a specific reason. And for me, it wasn't because I was crazy. It was because I had a big mouth and I was a dirty cop snitch. They didn't want me telling people stories, especially about Officer Barreto, who had smashed my face into the wall. It was a clear case of police brutality. And, you know, so when they let me out, okay, they let me out like they did before. You know, I got nobody to bail me out, so they finally let me out the day after Christmas, just an hour after they cleaned that clog. And I'm walking, you know, I take my phone, I'm praying to God my social security check is there, right? Then I get out and I see the money's in there, and then I walk all the way down to the Walmart, and I'm homeless again, right? But I can't walk, and so I think that was when I got the walker at the ER. I had to go to the ER, and they sent me to the Empowerment Center, and that didn't work out very well because I wasn't playing their game. And at one point, you know, I'm trying to get all these domestic violence orders issued, and I had one against my brother, and I was supposed to appear in Lee Schreiber's court the day after I had been arrested the second time on Martin Luther King Day. But the first time when I was arrested for failure to appear, okay, this was way back, and I was released on the 9th. You know, Toomey's there. I don't have a public defender, right? Toomey's there, like, so full of himself. He was mad because I tied a braid to his door, too. Okay. Oh, Judge, I think she's learned her lesson. Pretending to be my public defender, because he was claiming to be my public defender, and I said to Judge Adams, I'm like, you know, I sent her a letter. I asked her for a regional counsel. I said, how is it that Mr. Toomey is my public defender? He works for the sheriff. And when I showed up in front of her, you know, because I refused to release my Park Royal records to them, I said in a video, you can go back, it would be used against me, right? Remember, I'm a prophet, right? And so I'm sitting there by myself, and she's fine. She's fine with me being there by myself, having been denied my right to a public defender. When I got out, though, you know, because my channel is Lotus Lee Studios, right? Lotus is my signature flower. Lee is my mom's family name, right? But people have been calling me Pretty Toes in the jail, right? Because I'm sending these pictures. And so to my husband in jail who has a foot fetish, okay. And I'm like, you know what, Pretty Toes. Well, now I'm a hardened criminal. Pretty Toes sounds like a wonderful name for a criminal. Okay. And so now he's in prison, right? Based on this woman's lies, because they manipulated the system. That included Judge Kyle, Adam Miskovich, right? And Anastasia Tollard, who was working with my ex-husband, right? Who finally, you know, I'm in jail, right? Fighting this case on my own. They said, okay, coast is clear now. Let's bring her in. So she testifies against him with all her nasty lies, her evil spell work. And it gets him put in prison until September of 2026. And so when I get out, you know, I'm waiting at the 420 McDonald's. He never shows up. I find out he's in prison. I got no reason to stay in Lee County. One reason. My dog. who is being held hostage by Donna Thompson for reasons I've already disclosed, who told the sheriff's office she was holding him hostage. Okay? Marceno knows, we know, where the bodies are buried. He does. But Charlie also hates a nasty spirit. He hates cops and Trump lovers. Oh my God. The times when, Derek was in an accident, Charlie was in there, when I was in the apartment, those people were deathly afraid of Charlie. And he's a threat. But he's also my son. And this is how narcissists work, right? They're the ones that kidnap your kids and hold them for ransom and tug on your heartstrings. That's how it works, because they're lower vibrational beings, and that's how they keep you in control, right? So my husband's in jail. I'm stuck there, sleeping behind a tree. And when I get out, I'm at the Starbucks, right? I left the Empowerment Center because he's like, well, you know what? You need to go back to Park Royal because nobody can have 25 people wanting to kill him. You gotta be crazy, bitch. I'm at the Starbucks because I'm trying to record my song, Kajikawapopo, that my mom and my dad helped me write. And Derek wrote the bass line to, just before a setup off of I-75 2 years before, okay? Kajikawapopo. And I'm trying to record it at the Guitar Center, and everybody's coming in. It was a bad night. It was Sunday night. So everybody's there, dinking on the piano and playing the guitar. I can't record. So I go over to the Starbucks where we met. And I'm, running out of space on my phone. And I look to see what I can take away. And the first picture is that picture that I took from behind a tree. And so I'm like, okay, I couldn't see it at the time. I didn't want to draw attention to myself because of the light, and I can't see. I blow it up. I blew it up, expecting to recognize some faces of the homeless people, right? The homeless people that were around me, and the shopping cart guy and Officer Beaton. I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out and give this to the FBI for evidence, and I blow it up. There is not one person in that picture. Where the shopping cart guy was this evil kind of devil-looking guy, okay? And I knew that really was my dad, calling on all of these evil energies when I wouldn't do that, right? I call on God to protect his little girl. He was pissing behind the tree, reminding me of him. It was his energy. And where Officer Beaton was, there was this like translucent kind of abominable snowman kind of looking devil guy, right? Taking orders from these people to take out priests. And I'll tell you what happened at the bus station the next day some other time, and where these homeless people were, these homeless people that I thought were stalking and spying on me, talking about taking out priests, they were just orbs. And I said, what is this? And God said, the shopping cart guy is your dad. The abominable snowman is Officer Beaton. And all of those homeless people, your spirit guides and ancestors were working through to convince him to take that evil priest out. And so I know God is protecting me. When I went to the rental car place, Archangel Michael took out the taillight of a thug who was wanted in Monroe County. But I can't get my husband out right now, right? Because he's in prison now until September of 2026. And I talked to the lawyer, Alex Wright, who represented Daniel Marquez, and I realized I don't have any real hope of getting a lawyer, hiring a lawyer to appeal his case, right? Right now he's being represented by Mr. Mouskovich, who already told him he was going to send him to prison for the rest of his life, right? Whose wife knows my ex-husband. And so my only real power is in my voice. And so I wrote a protest song. But I'm also an artist, right? So I got these shoes, and on the outside, because now my criminal name is Pretty Toes. Pretty Toes is on strike. Pretty Toes is on strike. And she won't show her little piggies until my husband gets out of prison. And then I'm like, well, that's a great song. That's a great idea for a song. So when I was in jail, you know, I kind of came up with the chorus, but now I'm going to sing it for you. Oh gosh, 30 minutes already. Okay. I pray I don't run out of space. Okay. And I'm here at the rest stop and it's real noisy, but I'm going to try to do this. Okay. Pretty Toes is on strike. Pretty Toes is on strike. Pretty Toes is on strike. Gonna keep my little piggies hidden from public view. Pretty Toes is on strike. Pretty Toes is on strike. Until that blessed day when I can walk back to you. Calling me a hypocrite and weird old head. I got an evil mother-in-law who's a controlling nag. It's true. My fathers-in-law are dead, but they were pretty good guys, driven to their graves by the devil in disguise, sadly suckered in by her Jezebel eyes of blue. Pretty Toes is on strike. Pretty Toes is on strike. Gonna keep my little piggies hidden from public view. Pretty Toes is on strike. Pretty Toes is on strike. Until that blessed day when I can walk back to you. Pretty Toes is on strike. Pretty Toes is on strike. Gonna keep my little piggies hidden from public view. Pretty Toes is on strike. Pretty Toes is on strike. Until that blessed day when I can walk back to you. Thank you for joining me today, and have a blessed day.